Survivor fans, welcome back to season 33. We're recapping a double episode last week and tonight's episode. It's about to be a rumble. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Nobody's safe.
Wow. Nobody is safe. We're not even safe right now.
I am.
You're the only one.
I feel safe next to Dom. She's my protector.
Paige is safe, but Paige is not here tonight. We miss her. She's back next week. I'm your host. My name is Michael Rippe. You can catch me on social media at Mike Rips. I'm joined every week by my co-host,
Domonique Price. You guys can find me on social media at DomoniqueP_ESQ.
Michael Clouse, everyone. How are we doing this evening? You can follow me on Instagram at TheOnlyMC, on Twitter at Michael Clouse TV. What are you whispering? What are you're saying something? Every single week, I try to get Dom to give me a crazy look. I do something that makes her give me a crazy look. I posted a photo on my Instagram of me doing the hashtag.
You guys, I just
and
want to
she
talk
was
about
giving
Survivor.
me the look.
That's all I want to do.
That's what I do every week.
Make them stop, please.
Oh, it's great to be
It's about
back.
to be a rumble in here, you guys.
It's about to be a rumble.
This is what happens when you miss a week. We missed each other, you can tell. Paige, again, she's not here. Definitely miss her. But we're going to roll. We got a lot to talk about, so let's go.
How much has changed over the last 3 weeks?
So much.
A lot.
It's like this. It's a different season, but let's start from last week.
Yeah, we have live chat up, by the way.
We do. We do.
Got
so
it. Everyone tuning in. So we are listening, and we know a lot of people reached out to us wanting to go last week. We were away. We're back.
And we definitely appreciate everyone reaching out to us and sticking with us all season, and it makes it more enjoyable for all of us.
Yes, I felt missed.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
like they were like, "Where are you guys?" I'm tuned in, and there's nothing here. And then somebody spoiled it for me and told me who got voted off before I had a chance to watch.
Can we just take a moment to just remember Chris? Chris, my man.
Who cares about Chris?
Chris, he was my man.
Moving along, let's all have a moment of silence for Jessica, because that was the saddest thing I think I've ever seen on Survivor.
Yeah.
Like, she was the main one, like, you guys, I just really don't want to do these rocks. I really don't want to do rocks. And she opens her hand, and all you see is, like, tears. Like,
so did you guys think that she was going to... I thought if anyone would switch in the second vote, that it would be her. Did anybody else think that it would be her?
First of all, there was a lot going on during that tribal in that little moment where they were trying to figure out the whole situation. It seemed like Jessica was willing to switch her vote because she was like, look, guys, it's whatever. I just don't want to do rocks. It seemed like David and Adam were really deadlocked on not switching their votes. And so it really came down to, and then you had Brett, who was like, I'm not switching mine either. So it was kind of like, we're going to go down to rocks. It was like, and I'm starting to not really vibe with Brett at first. I was like, oh, okay, he's a police officer. Like, he has this really funny, goofy personality. But in the last two tribal councils, I feel like he's been a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, very assertive, like in a bully kind of way.
I will say that I did like the way that he enjoys the rewards. I really appreciate how much he really enjoys the rewards, and how last episode when they won the reward, he didn't care that they were like on the floating raft that was close, that they could hear him. And he's like, I don't care. Like, he owns when he wins the reward, which is something I can appreciate. Now, tribal council is a different story. Maybe he's looking out for himself and you don't like his personality, but I definitely just wanted to touch on the reward part.
Someone just put in the live chat, they said that Brett going after Ken is not a guy thing, it's a jealousy thing. Which I thought was very interesting.
I think that's interesting. And what I was saying was, I don't think it's necessarily him looking out for himself in tribals. It's like this is my opinion, and because you don't agree with me, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And I feel like the last tribal, when they started playing on the fact that David, has anxiety and that he, is scared of a lot of things, and how they started making fun of him, it was kind of like, you guys got like schoolyard boy rude during that tribal, and it was really, really unnecessary. I just felt, and I agreed with what David said, like, whoa, it can be fun and games about the game stuff, but I just didn't think it was necessary to take it personal.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying of that when Brett, for not the immunity challenge, but certainly the reward challenges, where he's very much enjoying his beer and is like, I don't care who sees it, trying to get in other people's heads. but I think there's a limit because you realize you can't turn anyone off. And I think that was certainly most prevalent tonight of like, you don't need to win everybody over, but you can't piss someone off.
Yeah. And let's try to finish up last week's episode and push back to kind of at the start of the episode and how they went. Let's say David.
Thank you for keeping us on our toes.
Well, David, he tried to get out of the challenge because he didn't like swimming, but then everyone is like, no, you have to do the challenge.
I don't think it was more so of him not wanting to. I think he didn't want to cost anybody a reward. I looked at it as like he was trying to be sweet.
Yeah, but also I think when you're down to less than 10 people, you at least compete. It all looks really bad when you just have no faith in yourself. Right, but let's think about it like this. Like, let's think about if Cece was playing, and we know how Cece was in challenges. If we know we haven't eaten in, like, there's still people playing who have not had a single reward. Do you want Cece to bow out and sit out, or do you want her to be on your team?
I can't think.
No, this is a legit question. No, but I can't. If you haven't eaten in 3 weeks.
No, I know, but I can't think of in the past couple of weeks that David has cost anyone a challenge.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to.
He's played better.
No. I agree with you 1,000%. I think he's still kind of in his mind that he's the same David he was when he walked in day one, and I think he's grown tremendously in what he can do. Like, even look at the last few challenges, he's doing better than Sunday.
Won one.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. So David, he sits out the challenge. Then it's like he's the MVP of that episode, because then they end up winning, right? Yeah. His team ends up winning. No, sorry. The other team lost. They lost, but not because of David.
No.
But
did you hear him when they lost? He still said, "Sorry, guys. Like, I'm sorry."
But it wasn't his fault. It was just part of the team that lost. So Jay sat that out. The purple team with Hannah, Sunday, Adam, Zeke, and Brett came from behind with the puzzle, and they won. They got the reward. Brett was bonding with Zeke, enjoying his reward as they floated right nearby. Everyone could see them. They got letters from home, and then they're back at Tribe. Ken and David were frustrated, and then there was the challenge, right? And this is where David kind of starts, because
he wins.
David wins challenge. Were you guys, how surprised were you?
Standing on a beam, balancing the idol.
Yeah. I was extremely, extremely surprised.
He looked very comfortable.
And he won a challenge that was a big challenge. There's a lot of people...
Yeah, and it wasn't something that you would think would gear to his strength. And it's
what are his strengths?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
I think his strengths gameplay, finding idols.
Oh no,
finding idols.
He has a strength, a knack for finding idols.
He's found multiple idols.
I think and talk about. I want to get everyone's opinion, both on the live chat and here. I think the evolution of David over the past 3 episodes. What are your thoughts? Where you notice that he obviously started out by wanting to withdraw from the challenge, thinking, "I will do everyone a favor." Then he wins a challenge. Then even at the end of last week and even this week, he's like in control, or at least the vocal leader of the one group. Like, did we ever expect this from him? Do you think that he's playing this too soon?
I can't say it too soon, because we're down to
I don't think anything is too soon. But when also a theme, David winning the reward, is Zeke trying to really take control and incite the war between the Gen X and he says he's trying to incite a civil war between Gen X. This is where we see Zeke really coming to the forefront. Did you guys have thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like Zeke's been trying to assert himself a little bit more since right before the merge, when he got a little bit closer with Chris, and he was like, okay, this is how I'm going to get in with the Gen Xers, and this is how I'm going to kind of assert myself, because he knew he already had Hannah. He knew that he had Adam potentially. So going back when they finally merged, he was like, okay, now that I have a few people on both sides, I can pretty much will this game the way that I want to. And we've seen that the last few weeks. Zeke has been right in the middle of every single tribal that we've seen the last 3 weeks.
He did. He took a prominent role.
Right. And I feel like in him doing that, he definitely put a target on his back. He definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I think that's why we've seen him get voted out.
It's always a precarious position to put yourself in. So before we move to the next episode, it ends up being that Chris gets voted out versus Jessica, which was a little bit of kind of foreshadowing at the time. We didn't realize that it would come down to that. But so Chris is voted out. That moves us to the second part of last week's episode. And Chris is gone. and Zeke is really, he's taking control. And
well, and that's what I was talking about with David. I said, is he coming to prominence too soon? Because he's put a target on his back, just like the way Zeke has. Zeke rose up, and now he's gone. And I think in realizing, especially the past 3 episodes, that the people who are in the best position are still the ones who are laying low and not rising to prominence. So in David, stepping up and taking charge, he certainly put a target on his back. And did he do that too soon was what I was saying.
It's interesting because I feel like every single season of Survivor is so different as far as what works and what doesn't. I feel like, seasons before, you being the super weak link, that'll get you out really, really quick. There have been some other games where it's like, okay, we're going straight for the more dominant player. And it was interesting to me that at the beginning, Sunday, Cece, they were on the very, very bottom of the totem pole, and yet Sunday's still here. We're watching challenge after challenge. None of the challenges today I watched all the episodes today, so I keep saying today, but between last week and tonight, Sunday struggled through every single challenge, and her name isn't even on anyone's radar.
Yeah. Will, are we, Jay, they're the same, they're all...
Well, no, we can't put Will necessarily in that bracket because we have seen Will win an immunity. When he really, really needed it, Will won.
Yes.
So I'm saying we haven't seen Sunday do anything to keep her name, really, really in this game as a contender.
Let's finish off last week's episode because I feel like we're all over the place with the thoughts. And so Jay won the second reward. He had immunity going into the second tribal, which last week's episode was just, there's so much. And so Jay has the reward and their split vote. Where are we with the split vote and the rocks though? That was an unbelievable moment. And also, Adam, what did you think about Adam saying to David or Adam said that what did he say? He said about they were all going to vote for Ken to save Ken. So David used his idol to save Ken.
It was really random.
Even though it didn't seem like anybody was talking about Ken.
It was definitely a flip.
He should have said use it for Hannah to save Hannah.
Well, he was on the reverse side, so he was trying to make it right. He did vote for Zeke. You're right.
No, Adam.
No, you're talking about the wrong.
Adam threw misdirection, and he said that they were all talking about Ken. At no point, tell us in the live chat, did you guys think? Because nobody was talking about Ken.
No.
So that was just David wasting his idol on Ken, and instead of using it on Hannah. I wrote
in my notes, I was like, why? I get so frustrated when they're in tribal and they're whispering in each other's ear because you have no clue. There's no subtitles. You don't know what's happening in these little pockets of conversation.
And how much can you hear?
What I felt like why Ken's name got brought up was because Ken had just made that statement. Brett got a little shut up. And I felt like they were more so talking about what was just said and not writing Ken's name down. And I feel like Adam misinterpreted whatever the conversation was.
I think
it's whispers.
No matter what, Adam clearly, he misconstrued, he misunderstood something there because no one was voting for Ken. And if Adam just says to David, play the idol for Hannah, and he plays the idol for Hannah, it's a different scenario, really, everything that goes down. Yeah. But nonetheless, Jessica's... She knows she has that premonition. She's gonna lose. She obviously has bad luck regularly or thinks like that. And so they pick rocks. I can't remember the last time they picked rocks.
I can't.
It's been a while. And then Jessica loses, and Jessica goes home, and she's bawling, and it's a tough moment.
I think I would have been a little more upset had she been a favorite or done so. She was in the middle of the pack.
Sure.
So it was almost like I didn't see a major loss for the entire game when she went. Obviously, I felt for her. I felt for anyone in that situation where you...
1 second. So live chat is saying that Sunday was the one who said to vote out Kent in that situation.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I do remember.
No, you guys, we are trying to listen to the chat. Okay. It's just hard to see. It's a little far away.
Also, Ultimate Fangirl said that she really wanted to see you on Survivor, that you would be
You guys, you guys know that since I got on the panel, I've been talking about really wanting to play Survivor. But tonight, last week, when that roach flew onto Taylor's T-shirt and it wouldn't get off, I had to walk away from the TV because I was so so freaked out. I couldn't stop itching. I had to take a whole 5-minute break from watching the show. So the bug thing is really what's going to deter me from applying to Survivor.
Sheena says last time they picked Rock was from Survivor 27.
Sheena, I love,
been a
can I just
while.
say, Sheena, I
Sheena
love
is
your
fantastic.
history of the Survivor game. Like, you keep us on our toes, and I thank you for it. But let's get back to...
So
Mike looks like he has something.
Jessica is eliminated, and she has the legacy advantage, which she then leaves to Ken. As she said, she was going to leave to Ken. And that wraps up our double episode, and we can talk about tonight's episode right after we read this from our sponsors. So what do you do when you want to snack, but all you can find is junk food? You rely on your self-control to resist temptation. Please, come on. You eat the junk food, but start snacking healthy with Nature Box, because Nature Box makes snacks that actually taste great and are better for you. Created with high-quality ingredients that are free from artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners, so you can feel great about snacking. I love Nature Box. My personal favorites, definitely the Honey Dijon pretzels, and obviously salt and vinegar veggie chips. Also, don't mess with the olive tapenade. I just wanted to say that. Now, Nature Box recently made their service even better. Now you can order as much as you want, as often as you want, with no minimum purchase required, and you can cancel anytime. It's simple. Go to naturebox.com and check out their snack catalog. There are over 100 snacks to choose from. They are constantly adding delicious new snacks. Choose the snacks you want. They'll deliver them right to your door. With Nature Box, you'll never get bored. There are new snacks each month, inspired by real customer feedback. And if you ever try a snack you don't like, Nature Box will replace it for free. So you can just try all the snacks and keep getting them replaced for free.
Seriously, how true is that? Because there's a bunch of Jelly Bellies at my house right now, and I am just constantly grabbing these Jelly Bellies.
I mean,
and
guys,
I'm like, I wish I had some kind of healthy snack.
Nature Box.
All the time.
So basically, and right now you'll save even more. So as you're listening, Nature Box is offering our fans 50% off your first order when you go to naturebox.com/afterbuzz. Or /podcast. That's naturebox.com/podcast for 50% off your first order. naturebox.com/podcast.
And if you want to go there and order us some,
send them to us. We can be friends on
Dijon.
Yeah, Honey Dijon. And there's a whole list. You guys got to see this, so definitely check it out. There's just a ton. I only said a few, but again,
And you don't have to go to the grocery store. It's like Amazon for food. Think about it.
Yeah,
Amazon is awesome.
Really, really interesting. Another interesting thing is that Sheena was just giving us the rundown of when's the last time that the rocks had been used, and she was saying
His daughter, Katie, pulled the Black Rock.
Katie pulled the Black Rock, and as soon as I seen the name Katie, I was like, I totally remember. It was crazy. I always get excited when Tribal gets crazy and it goes to a whole nother level, you guys, because a lot of people don't realize, but there is actually a huge, like, encyclopedia-size book full of the rules of the game of Survivor, and I love stuff like that.
Do you have that book?
I have begged and begged and begged for a copy. One day,
if anybody has a copy and wants to be Dom's friend,
I had the chance to talk to
holiday
one
gift.
of the lawyers for the team, and there's legit someone on staff. Nice. Every single tribal that is making sure that it's played according to the rules. Because for those that don't know, when you were on TV playing any type of contest game, it's actually federally regulated. So they have to make sure that they adhere.
I mean, there's $1 million at stake. So
right, you can't just be all wishy-washy about money.
Let's just make this up right now.
Right?
No,
they don't.
Everything has to be determined.
No. Okay. We powered through. We powered through. Thank you for the fun fact. That was good.
Yes.
Now we powered through last week's double episode, and let's talk about tonight. It's about to be a rumble. They're back at camp. Hannah feels awful about the rocks, just awful. She's crying. David burned his idol for no reason and recognizes that because he's always got anxiety.
We'll just add that to the list of many bad moves by David.
And Zeke loved it because he felt like he said he felt like a warrior, and he kind of won the battle he felt like he was having with David, is the way he termed it when he's back at camp.
Yeah, and just thoughts on Zeke, because we were watching this and saying that he has changed and almost become a douche is probably one of the best ways to say it.
It was getting to his head this season?
Yes, it's really like, I don't mind like his gameplay, but I think what you're saying is getting to his head and he's really almost becoming cocky.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about that as we were watching the episode about how just the evolution of Zeke that we're seeing. You know, when he first started playing the game, I kept saying how I was like Team Zeke. I really hope he makes it far because I really liked how he was playing. And here we are more than halfway through the game, and like a light has like gone off in his head, and he's like turned into this like really weird like power evil master guy. And I was saying this to you guys, and I don't want to jump all over the episode, but when they got to tribal tonight and Will was kind of speaking, I kind of sat back and looked at it like, for some reason this season, every time there's been a swing vote or, you know, someone's had a twinge of power, we've seen this with Lucy very early on, these people are getting just a little taste of control or power, and it's like they go super mad evil laboratory lab.
And then they always get voted off.
Right.
Like, how do you not realize that this is going to happen?
This is not the way to go. Like, evil dictatorship never works.
I mean, especially
evil dictatorship.
Especially with Zeke, which, according to Mary, says that Zeke was always trying too hard for the cameras, and says, I thought I saw something else right there, that he was always like couldn't stand him, which, you know, I don't know. I think especially after he voted off Chris, he was kind of in control of that. He was like, yeah, I got this. I can do this.
Which is very interesting to me because, like, a week and a half ago, he was talking about how he really wanted to go far with Chris and how he looked up to him because, you know, hometown hero. And I'm like, did I fall asleep? I'm good for falling asleep during an episode at home. So did I miss something there?
Hear me on this. Do you think that potentially what we're seeing now, that there's such a limited remaining amount of females that the alpha males or the male idea of being the alpha is starting to show? Because you're seeing a lot of the men having issues not getting their voice out or being heard, and you're seeing that tonight with Will. But we saw this with Zeke. We see David itching. We see Adam itching. Even we see Ken. You see Ken.
Here's
Ken's
my thought.
not being alpha, but you see
Ken's defensive, not offensive.
Here's my thought about Ken during this episode. Here's my thought, you guys. Ken is one of the only people left who hasn't had a reward at all. I feel like his paranoia, his hunger, his I'm playing this for my little girl got the best of him in this episode, and where he may have rationalized not blowing up Will's game like he did, he is just on, like, I think you could blow and this man may crack.
Wow.
Like, did you guys notice during the loved ones and what's the boy wonder's name? Jay was picking people. He kept like touching his heart, like trying to get, you know, some really kind of motion for Jay. I just really feel like he was on edge.
Well, speaking of that, that's an interesting thought. Also, we learned tonight pretty much for the first time that Ken has a daughter.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss that somewhere?
Because it took us 31, 32 days to find out from Ken that he had a daughter.
And we also realized that Brett is gay. Which I was like, why? I thought it was interesting, that whole conversation that Brett and Zeke had about him feeling like because he's from an older generation, they just kind of didn't grow up being outwardly open about their sexual preferences. So I thought it was really cool that he finally opened up to Zeke. Yeah. I still hate the game that Brett is playing, and I'd love for him to go home.
I think some of these things are probably revealed late on purpose, I would imagine, by the show versus like, you know, I'm sure they're mentioned and talked about.
Yeah, there's still a storyboard that the producers have to follow.
Yes.
So we go to a reward, and it's the loved ones reward tonight, where each competitor is going to have someone there that they that they chose, or someone. How does this work? Do we know? Do they have a list of a couple people it could be?
Yeah, they ask you when you do your application, 2 people that you would potentially want to come out
to see.
Okay.
But I have a question for you guys. I'm not an emotional person. That's just not who I am, and so I always think it's really interesting when you get to this point in the game and everyone's just like boo-hoo. When you hear Brett said, I didn't think I would cry. You know, Jay says he doesn't think that you would cry. So what do you think it is about this game that just puts everyone's emotions on high alert? Is it the fact that they're away from family? Is it the fact that this game is so intense? I kind of think it's like a mixture of it all, but I felt like it was just a little much. The waterworks.
So tell us, if you're in the live chat or in the comments this week, did you think that it was too much, or did you ride with how much emotion there was?
Well, you were saying, and to talk, you said to be able to talk about your personal experience a little bit, if you don't mind, but you said you were very emotional.
Yes. I equate doing a reality show where you have to completely drop off the face of the earth, like being in solitary confinement. You're talking to your guards every day, i.e., you know, the producers and the inmates, i.e., your castmates, and that's all you get to talk to. So I can see why they would be so emotional. I really loved what we saw and who we seen from Adam this week. You know, he had the advantage to be able to steal this reward from someone, and there was kind of some conversation that they'd be afraid that Adam would try and steal this, steal in particular the reward for the loved one, and he made the statement like, hey, I am not going to do this from jump. I thought it was interesting because it was kind of foreshadowing that he wasn't going to win, and his brother was like, yo, like, you got to fight for this, and clearly we see that didn't happen.
And speaking of Adam, in the reward, one of the funnier moments of the entire episode, if you ask me, the way he gets stuck in the obstacle course and is just...
I was like, get out, scoot back out.
Just screaming.
Did someone help him? Someone had to have
Somebody had to pull him out, like, what?
That was one of the, and not the whole leading up to the obstacle course, but the actual challenge when they were in it and he got stuck was quite comical. The way he kept crying, like, I'm stuck. And he almost like he had given up, but he was crying, or he was just whining. And
Interesting. Gisela says in the live chat, I've been away for 2 months at a school camp with no communication. When our parents visited, it was very emotional, more than you would think. And I think that, you know, when you're in that situation where you have no communication with anyone familiar, to have someone.
Do we think that it has something to do with it's obviously on CBS and there's going to be a lot of people watching too?
No.
Because
I think it's also
like a little bit.
Once one person. I think it's also like once one person starts, it just becomes easier and everyone's doing it. I think that's also part of it.
I will not throw anybody under the bus, but one of the girls that I was uncoupled with, we had got to our last 3 days there, and we found out that we were having pizza for dinner, and she cried hysterically. Like, could not stop crying. She cried for a good hour. There was nothing we could do to get her to stop crying, and we could not understand what about the pizza triggered it for her that she could not stop crying, but it was just because emotions were high and she had been away from her family for over 6 weeks. But she was crying over pizza. And no cameras were around. So I really don't think it's about the cameras. I really just think it can cause you to be like super emo.
But or is it because Survivor is so challenging and you have to be so strong that this is a moment where you can be weak?
I agree
in
with
the
that.
sense.
I like that idea. I do like that this is one moment where it's okay to let your guard down. And I think we definitely seen that with Adam. Like, he's whispering, you know, to his brother because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to talk to him later, if his mom's okay. Because, you know, from what we've been hearing from Adam, you know, for the last few weeks, and my prayers go out to his family that his mom has stage 4 lung cancer. And she's no longer being able to have any of her treatments, which is just super, super sad. So I'm definitely, and it's funny because you get to this point like where it's the families come out and it causes you to root for people that you haven't normally liked during the game.
You see the emotional side.
Well, it's not even the emotional, but you see the personal aspect of it, you know? It's like, why is his name always bothering me and I can't remember? His name wasn't Jay. The guy who won season before last, and his wife came and she was pregnant and she whispered to him that they were having a boy, and he didn't tell anybody the entire time after the loved ones that he found out what he was having until the last tribal, and they were doing their speeches before they went, and that's when he finally opened up and was like, you know, in this game you can't be vulnerable enough to tell each other what's going on back home, the reason why they're truly playing this game. And to me, I kind of feel like, is that a disadvantage of not being truthfully like open about what your motivations were for doing the show?
That can be with anything, I guess not even like emotional of like if your family's sick or you have something medical.
I think that at the end of the day, everyone's got stuff going on, and also you said something earlier that I didn't follow up on.
Jeremy, thank you guys.
That about talking about that there's not one way. There's always no season is the same. That's what makes Survivor though, because if there was one way to do it, people would just do it to win, and that's why
there's no script.
One way works one season, and then that gets you eliminated first the next season. So there's not one way to do it. There's no rhyme or reason. It's depending on who the cast is, everyone's personalities coming together, and you having to figure it out and hope for the best. You need luck. You need to have skills. You need to put it all together.
I will say an interesting action was when Adam gave his switch advantage to Jay because allowing his family to come there. And my thought through this was like, if you really want to win, like I understand the action of like repaying him for the debt, but if you really want to win, you're there for the game. Why do you give up that advantage?
Well, I think Adam was having a weak moment. At this point, he's 30 days in. He's seen his family. He's starting to feel a little bit weak, and so I think. So he plays that, and then let's get to the reward where Jay ends up winning. Jay Jay wins the reward.
I know.
Ultimate Fangirl.
Can we just pause? Because I can't. I have to laugh for a second. So Ultimate Fangirl said, "Am I the only one who still can't believe Jay's a real estate agent? I know it's random. It has nothing to do with this episode, but it's really crazy. Funniest thing ever. So when he was talking in tonight's episode, and he was kind of leaned back on the rock or the tree or stump or whatever it is, all I could picture was his hair gelled back and him in a suit, like
maybe he doesn't want to see.
They're on billboards.
On a billboard.
I mean, real estate people are on billboards and buses.
I'm sorry.
He might not wear a suit.
Hilarious.
All
That's
right.
funny.
We'll talk to Ultimate Fangirl after the show. And he might not wear a suit. I don't even think Jay would wear a suit as a real estate agent.
I can't see it.
But Jay takes he wins the barbecue. He has his sister Melanie, and he's able to pick someone. Jeff says pick someone. Did you guys know right away he was going to pick Will, or what did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, his picks to me at least
made sense.
Yeah, they made sense.
I was
Especially
like,
the first two, and then out of the respect for the last one.
So he picks Will, which was nice. Then he picks Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So Sunday's getting everything.
That's what I'm saying. She's like the ultimate floater.
She's in the final three, isn't she?
I could see it.
But she's not a winner.
I could see it, but she's definitely not winning.
She's not winning, but she's good.
But I could see it.
She's good final three.
You know what it is that she's nice to everyone.
No, she's good.
But yet she's still sneakily, because week before last, she really wanted Jessica to go home.
Yeah, remember Sunday and Jessica.
She was really stirring that kind of pot.
I feel like she's final three material where she gets like one vote at the final. You'd bring her along because you know you can beat her.
I'd bring her along.
You know, as soon it's gonna start. You gotta pick someone that you can beat. That not only you want to bring someone that you can beat, and she's perfect. She fits that well. So Sunday goes, and then Adam basically gets the reward anyways because Jay picks Adam, which was a nice moment, and it was interesting because they've kind of been rivals. And now they come together. They have a nice meal.
But I'm sorry. I cut you off earlier when you were getting ready to ask, what do you think about Adam giving his advantage to Jay? To me personally, I don't, unless they brought back that whole process of when one of the rewards was picking the envelopes and you didn't know what was in the envelopes, and one of the guys got an extra vote as a reward. Now, if it was one of those type of rewards, then I could definitely say that he made the dumbest mistake ever in giving it to Jay. But so far, all we're seeing are food rewards. And to me, I feel like I'm cool with giving that up if I didn't win it. But if it's a challenge that could really change a vote or save me or in some type of immunity, that's different.
That's true.
I just don't think you don't know what the future holds.
And
I think Steven said this on here. He said that it wasn't that big of an advantage.
Yeah,
and
also,
looking forward at now, but any advantage in this game is an advantage.
But also, looking back a little bit now, we have to remember that he got a lot of stuff, Adam, at Tribal when they called him out for having it, and it's almost been a disadvantage to him. So part of him playing it or giving it to Jay may have been like, hey, this is my best bet to play this where it's not even used against me. And now I will have the relief of it not being like part of me anymore because they gave him a lot of grief. Remember how defensive he got and he didn't play his cards right?
Do you think this was also a way to put more of a target on Jay's back? Because now Jay still has this idol and he now has this advantage. Like, I know he did it out of the kindness of his heart, but do you think that there was a little bit of a gameplay in there?
I think there's gameplay to Adam. I feel like there's been a lot of gameplay, and I do think that I think him getting rid of it, also the time is there's not that many days left. So I think he accounted for all those things, and I think he thinks a lot about everything, and I think that he definitely gave it up because it was kind of like a relief, but also it wasn't that big of an advantage. It might have been a disadvantage. Because he almost got knocked out because he had this and he didn't know how to term it right during tribal.
2 seconds away from being voted out because he had it.
So, but I also see the side where you say, well, what happens if there's a really good challenge and that could be big. So we'll have to.
Survivor is a game of like all type of different variables. You never know what potentially could happen. Like we were just talking about before of. What were we talking about? The votes. Had something have happened, they wouldn't have had to go to the rocks.
If Adam hadn't told David to use the idol on Ken, and use it on Hannah, save Hannah, it would have been
it would have been a totally different outcome. And so that's what I'm saying. In the game of Survivor, every move potentially has an equal and opposite effect.
So after that, they're back. Will is ready to flip the script with David and take out Zeke. Will is grown up.
He wants to be someone.
He's grown up and he's ready. So
what did his mom whisper in his ear?
He saw his mom and Will grew up and he's ready to make his name. He's tired of being in the background, so he's going to put himself at the forefront.
One of the things that I did think about when he kind of made this whole motion of like people treat me this way because I'm young, I didn't feel like people were treating him some kind of way because he was young. No. I felt like they were doing that because he was choosing to play the background to all these individual players.
Agreed.
Like it wasn't like he went to when he was playing with Adam and Taylor, he was the third musketeer waved down at the bottom. When he went to the minority this week and said, hey, I'm willing to work with you guys, he's not doing anything to assert himself truly, I personally just don't think it's about his age.
No, I don't think it has been about his age.
And at the end of the day, playing the background has gotten him to this point and not had a target on your back. So why do you bring that up? Right. And if you do want to bring that up and become, a leader, you don't say it, you do it.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's got to be?
He talked way too much.
You know what it's got to be too, though? For us, it's easy to look at it and say, you're playing in the background, keep doing it. But I got to think that some of the people, when they're playing in the background, they're thinking at some point, I'm going to get taken out because I'm not strong enough, or no
they're
one is
thinking
so it's like maybe they're just having a little paranoia, and they at a certain point you have a breaking point depending on if it's 8 days in, 12 days, 15 days, and I just feel like he probably started to realize, well, it's my Survivor, everyone has to make their move, now it's time to make their move. Because realistically, when you look at this game, we're starting to be, it's almost if we're looking at it like a horse race. They've turned the final stretch, they've got a long way down the stretch, but they've turned the stretch, and now it's time to make your move.
Yeah.
And do what you're going to do.
Right. But I think Will was also saying today in tonight's episode that it's not necessarily just about him trying to ensure his safety, but he's looking at the final three, and he's like, when I have to make that speech, what am I going to say I've done in this game? And so I always wonder, when you begin to start to make your Survivor resume, at what point do you start doing that? Because we clearly seen for Zeke, him trying to take his leadership role, it may have been too soon. I think Lucy, when she originally tried to assert herself, it was way too soon. And so it's like, when do you start? Well, if you're not, like David, you're not good at winning immunity challenges, so that's not going to be your story when you get to the end. So it's like, it has to be something else. And I feel like that's what Will was trying to do tonight.
There's one way in Survivor to not make it too soon, and that is to win immunity challenge.
I just said that. It's like, if you can't win, what is your other mode? You have to be a game player. And that's what I feel like Will was trying to do.
So speaking of the immunity challenge, it was a quick one.
Super quick.
Right? And it seemed like it seems like it looks easy, but it must have been super hard.
Yeah, and they could either push or pull. I think, and I almost think that a couple of them switched midway.
And that's when it dropped.
And that's when it at least dropped part of the way. Yeah.
I think you probably just want to like stick to whatever
Because
works right at the
certain
start.
muscles get when you're doing when you're pushing using your chest and your shoulders, when you're pulling using your back. And so if you're able to switch at least once.
So it's a pretty forgettable immunity challenge, but it ends up with Jay versus Adam, amazingly, and Adam wins. So Adam is definitely safe tonight at Tribal.
Andy has immunity idol.
He has an immunity idol, so
sitting really well.
He's feeling really confident.
I was really underwhelmed by all of the challenges for tonight between the rewards and the immunity, and I started to think about like older challenges. I mean, that we've seen, and I'm like, I want to get back to like when they used to do like the human mazes, or when they had to do those like obstacle courses and jump through like all these hoops and then run down the stairs. Like, I want to see more like physically taxing challenges. Like, are there any challenges that you guys have seen in the past that you'd love like for them to bring back? Because I feel like there has been underwhelming.
It has been a little underwhelming this season. I'll agree. After immunity, Adam's in a strong position. Zeke, this was confusing to me. Zeke thinking that David would have another idol to play.
Yeah,
when he just played the idol last week is kind of weird to me. That was the one time where I started thinking, I thought Zeke was on it, like really tuned, like he was tuned into the gameplay and everything going on. And for him to think that David would have another idol, and so he didn't want to take out David.
Did he mean like have access to another idol as the leader of the group?
He's going to find it. I really was confused by that. And so that's going on with Zeke. Will's ready to make his move, and
Ken, come on.
Yeah, this is the first time where you see Ken almost like, it looked like he was ready to, it was on a suicide mission.
I told you guys he was on a blow at him and he would have fell today. He's a stack of cards.
He's almost too independent. He's been very independent this entire time, but he's almost too independent, and if you poke him the wrong way, I mean, he has no alliance. And I think that showed tonight, and it was like, dude, what are you doing?
Well, this is following right after losing Jessica, who was in his main alliance, and so maybe he's a little hard.
I think he is fragile.
Yeah.
He might be losing now that
he needs a chip or a burger. He needs a happy moment.
He takes Will aside. Will says that he's not digging working with Ken, even though he's going to, but he calls it like having your nails ripped off.
Yes.
Well, because even the little snippet that they showed us, which it seemed like was probably a way longer conversation than what we seen, he was asking him some really intense questions. Like, is it that serious?
It was, yeah.
I really get to know someone when I can actually judge their core.
It was...
What?
This was the weirdest thing we saw for Ken.
He pulled a total Jessica. Like, I feel like he was told, hey, I got you, so don't worry. The votes are in our favor, but just so you know, they were throwing your name, like, out in the remix. Why on earth? For the love of me, I have no clue why Ken decided to do that.
Yeah.
He stirred everything up.
Will helped you out by saying, guess what? I want to let you know they're voting for you. I'm still voting with you guys. That's 5 against 4.
I just wanted to let you know.
Why rock the boat?
But to me, it astonished me because I'm like, looking back on that episode when Jessica did the exact same thing, Ken was pissed.
Yeah.
So for him to turn around and do the exact same thing, I was just kind of like, look at the kettle. Like,
so
what?
Basically, once Ken does that, he goes back. Everything is a mess. Even Ken's allies, David, Hannah, they're all worried now. Like, they're going to play it for me. Basically, you've basically screwed one of us.
No, they screwed the whole alliance.
But then, not only that, they think that it's not Ken that's going to go home. Hannah thinks she's going home.
Right.
David thinks it's going to be him because David thinks he's going home every episode. It doesn't matter.
David is always,
But they're freaking out. So everybody's can't believe what Ken did. Nobody's with Ken in this moment. And on the flip, we have Zeke versus Hannah versus Ken. I mean, I was completely unsure what was going to happen at Tribal.
And to me, I feel like Jessica had the moment to be able to have that slap in the face, like, yo, I made a really horrible move and I need to never do that again. I hope Ken understands that he dodged a really big bullet.
And I think he needs to, when we catch up next week,
he needs a chip.
That he needs to be able to go and say, listen, I'm sorry. Somehow acknowledge it and say, I'm sorry, because otherwise I feel like it's going to come back up somehow. I feel like he needs to acknowledge the elephant in the room when we begin next episode.
I think we're day 33. The men, they're all ready to be the alpha. There's a lot of alphas left.
Who knew Hannah and Sunday would be the last two girls?
And who knew that at Tribal, Adam would play his immunity idol for Hannah and that he would keep it in his pants.
He's committed to the group.
So Adam plays his idol, saves Hannah. Jeff, let's note this. Jeff takes the idol from Adam without no problem that Adam's been carrying it.
Purell was on standby, I'm sure.
I mean, I would hope so.
Jeff's a man. It's Survivor.
Double shot.
So that essentially...
Yeah, Zeke's gone.
Saves Hannah because at least Hannah knows that saves her, even though the vote would have taken out Zeke anyways, because Will still voted for Zeke, which is something to remember as we move forward, where at least we know where Will's alliance is. They all talked to him. He still went against Zeke.
I don't think he'll get credit for it.
No, and I think they'll think it honestly
right.
might backfire in his face if he tries to assert the fact that he voted for Will. Because of how he played...
Will voted for Zeke.
Will voted for Zeke, I'm sorry. I feel like because the way he played the Tribal, if he didn't let them know ahead of time that he was going to vote for Zeke, if he tries to go back and be like, oh yeah, guys, I voted for Zeke, so I had your guys' back, I would look at him like he was a bold-faced liar.
I think Will's in trouble because I think he's going to tell both sides the thing they want to hear, and that's going to get out, and then he's going to be in a mess of trouble. But they're all kind of in a mess right now.
Everybody. No one's safe.
No one is safe. We're towards the end. There's 8 people left.
Jay seems like he might be safe right now. Very randomly.
Jay was going home.
3 weeks ago,
Jay
was out.
He was on the bottom.
He was done.
That's the thing we've learned is that nobody is safe.
Now
Alliances change every single week.
I agree with Fangirl. I would like to see Brett go home.
Jay is a real threat to win.
I can see that.
I can totally see him winning the game.
Jay could win.
He's the only one with an idol left.
No,
Adam could win.
Adam too.
No, Adam played
his idol. David played his idol.
Right,
Jay's got an idol.
Yeah, Jay's the only one with the idol.
Jay's got the idol.
Maybe we'll get some shakeups, and maybe we'll actually get some good rewards next week, and
it's going to be Sunday.
Well, hey, predictions.
Yeah, we're gonna go to predictions right now.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Man, Jay's could win. I didn't think I was going to say that. I thought he was going home recently.
Yeah, I think looking at predictions, what I hope, I agree. I hope Brett goes home. I think he was just way too confident. I think since Chris got off, he's kind of like stepped up a little bit and too much. Predictions as who stays around. I can see David getting voted off in the next week because I think we're really close to the end. I can see David getting voted off next week.
6 or 7 more days?
6 more days.
6 more days, and there's 8 people left?
5 more days, technically, right?
Out.
34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Yeah, 39, what? And yeah, looking at a favorite. Wow, Adam. I think Adam. I would say
Adam's
that
your
Adam
favorite
right now is probably my favorite because I think
Wow.
he's played things well with other people as well.
Who?
Adam.
I don't know. I feel like my pull for Adam right now is an emotional one, so I'm going to keep that in my back pocket until I can really solidify that. However, I don't have a prediction for who's going home or who's staying. I have a prediction for there being a really cool reward that's not only going to include food. That's what my prediction is because I don't feel like they would have given this type of advantage to be able to steal a reward if there weren't some really amazing ones that were going to be seen this season.
I
want to cross my fingers that the Survivor powers that be have created some really cool things for me to see because I'm over the challenges, I'm over the rewards, I need something more.
And I'll keep it short. I think that I just think that Ken is gonna take a new role next week. We saw him at his worst this week. I think he's gonna be at his best next week. I think we're also gonna have a random someone's going home separate of Tribal. I don't know for what reason. There's just too many people left. And I also know that Paige is back. We're all back next week. So join us then. Woo! My name is Michael Rippe. You can catch me on Twitter at Mike Rips. Anything you want to talk about, I'm there.
And my name is Domonique Price, and you guys can follow me on all social media platforms and drop me a line at DomoniqueP_ESQ.
Hey guys, Michael Clouse. You can follow me on Instagram at TheOnlyMC, on Twitter at Michael Clouse TV. Check out my page on Twitter. Yesterday I actually posted an article, actually retweeted it, from People, I believe, that was Chris's perspective about being voted off, kind of some thoughts on Zeke and who he thought was the favorite. Once again, at Michael Clouse TV on Twitter. Check it out.
I like it. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.